guys, Lindsay here. Welcome to Little Helpful Files. We do cash budgeting, mini savings, a little bit of life in general, all through the glory and by the grace of God. And today's video is going to be focused on back to school, and I'm going to be using the awesome OneThrive Command Center. If you guys remember this, I did this a couple months back at the beginning of the year, and I've really been enjoying the Command Center. I think it's an awesome way to organize your budgeting and your finances, and it's a really easy way then for your whole family to kind of see and keep track of what's going on. So I'm going to be giving you 3 different tips of how you can use the Command Center for back to school and getting all of your money and your finances organized. So let's go ahead and get into the video. I am bringing you into our homeschool space. So I am a stay-at-home mom, and my husband and I do homeschool our children. And I have been doing Little Helpful Files almost 2 years now, and it is something that the Lord really placed on my heart and called me to do. I am always happy and excited to encourage other women and moms, especially in the budgeting and the financial arena. So I thought it would be a great idea to go through, like I said, 3 different ways that you can use the OneThrive Command Center. This is really great for organization. And I want to just show you there's so many different ways that you can utilize this to organize your family, especially as the school year is kicking back off. The first thing that we're going to talk about is sinking funds. And the reason that I want to focus on the sinking funds is because back to school time frame can be a little bit hectic, right? You're coming off of the summer, everybody's trying to get back into the normal routine. Sometimes you have spent a little bit more maybe than you planned for back to school. If you are new to budgeting and saving, you may not have had a category or a savings fund already saved for back to school or tuition or curriculum or whatever supplies you need. So that is something I'm going to talk a little bit about to encourage you for the upcoming year and also to prepare for the next year. So a sinking fund essentially is a savings category that you are going to be putting money into each month. So when you get your budget together and you've allocated a certain amount for savings, what you really want to do is give each of your dollars a place and a home. So when you have your savings categories, it allows you to see how much you need throughout the year for each of them, gives you a time frame, and then you can calculate that to see how much you need to save per month. So again, let's say that you're saving up for like tuition or curriculum next year and you have 12 months to save. You would take whatever that total is, divide it by 12, and you would now have your monthly amount that you want to save for that category. Now, why is this important? This is important because it will prevent you going into debt and having to put things on credit cards. So my biggest advice is to be able to, get yourself ahead of these things, to save the money up. And then that way, when those expenses come around, you're not touching anything in your monthly budget and you're not having to put yourself further in debt in order to meet the needs of those expenses. I do think setting up sinking funds is beneficial. And if you're just starting out, I would only do a few. So there are definitely, many different categories that you can start with, but I would recommend starting with a couple of the basics like medical, birthdays, vacation, car maintenance, tuition, curriculum, back to school supplies, and holidays. Those are some really good basic ones. So what you're gonna do is use your OneThrive board. I love using the calendar to lay everything out for the month, for the budget. Now, just for the video purposes, these are all going to be examples that I'm doing. I'm not using real numbers or real expenses, so there's things left out, but just to kind of give you guys an idea, it's really nice when you see a monthly snapshot of your budget, and the OneThrive allows you to see that easily, and you can lay out all of the different bills coming out, any utilities, credit cards, when you get paid, and then you can also put in there when you're going to save. Now, you can utilize the bottom parts, the whiteboard. Normally that would be a weekly schedule, but you can actually utilize that for your sinking fund categories. So you can set up how much you want to save per month, and then you can write down all your sinking fund categories. And then that way, depending on how often you get paid or how often you want to save for them. Let's just say you have a goal of $40 for something and you're going to save $10 each week. So each week, you have to take out $10 to put towards that category. Okay, one thing I forgot to note, as I was editing this video, I realized I wanted to just explain on the sinking fund, I do have credit cards. This would be in addition to what you're already paying for like your monthly credit cards, or if you pay your credit card off monthly, this would basically be a sinking fund to give you the extra to pay towards either debt or towards that credit card payment. So I just wanted to clarify that in terms of how you can utilize credit cards like in a sinking fund setting. It is not to negate the minimum purchase or what you're already needing to pay on those credit cards per month. So that would be more so in addition. Now, you can do this with cash, or you could do it electronic, like cashless. So one, you guys will have to make sure that you check the link that One Thrive is going to provide for the freebies. But one way to do this would be utilizing a sinking fund tracker. So a sinking fund tracker, again, can be utilized with cash, or it can be utilized as an electronic digital savings tracker. But this basically just sets your amount for each of the icons, sets your total goal, and then it allows you to track your progress as you go. I find this very helpful and encouraging. As you can see, you know, little by little, you are saving up and you are really getting to the point where you're achieving that goal. And then once you have that fully funded, it is such an awesome feeling and you're ahead of the game. So if you were wondering what this looks like, so we're gonna go through here, and what you would do is assign each of these an amount. And again, I would work backwards, so I would figure out what your goal is, and then that's how you assign what each of those equate to. So we'll put this goes in to your envelope that is in your binder. This is how I organize it. Now, I do need to keep this out because what we're gonna do, we're gonna count out 1, and then we have 20, 40, 60, 80, 2. So 200 is what we're gonna go ahead and color in. All right, so now that I've got those colored in, I'm just gonna save this money right in here. And like I said, you could utilize this. You could still track them, and then this money would just go into your high yield savings account instead, and you would still be coloring it in. But it's very encouraging as you continue to see these filled up. And then once it's all full, you will keep that until the time comes for you to use this for the sinking fund that you've saved. So it's a great system, a really good way to get ahead of your finances, and I have just found it to be extremely helpful when it comes to budgeting. That is going to be how you can utilize this for sinking funds. And like I said, this is something that you're going to budget for, that you're going to save per month, and these are going to be kind of like your big categories, top priorities, and maybe more long-term savings goals, but things that you would not normally budget for in your monthly budget, like cell phone bill and utilities and groceries and gas and things like that. These are going to be those big expenses that kind of come up that sometimes may cause us to dip into our emergency fund, but we're trying to avoid doing that. We don't want to touch the emergency fund. We want to have these already covered and allocated. If you guys have more questions on this, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help if I can. If you guys want more information on sinking funds, I do have a video about this on my YouTube channel that you can check out. Okay, next up, we are going to be talking about a way to add a little bit more into your savings. Now, this is something that I had not done prior to about a year or so ago. I was kind of afraid to try to do a no spend month. I actually love the no spend month, especially after a time like back to school when you have just spent more. You maybe have spent on supplies, on, like I said, curriculum, possibly clothing, new clothing for the year, because the kids are just growing so fast all the time and outgrowing everything they have. So after a time frame or a month or a couple weeks of really high spending, I think it's an awesome idea to implement a no spend month. Now, I'm going to show you how you compare this with your command center and organize this on the One Thrive board. But the no spend month, essentially what you're doing, it's not that you're not spending anything. And this can be customized for each family and for your needs. But what it's doing is pretty much cutting out any of the extra spending, any of that discretionary spending, things that might be more impulse buy or not really considered a need within the budget. So you're still going to spend money on your bills. rent or mortgage, groceries and gas. But again, on all of those, you're gonna want to try to focus on the needs. And then really what you're cutting out is the extra spending, extra shopping trips, extra eating out, anything that you would think of in your budget that's really not a necessity. Now, this is to do for, like I said, a month. And it's pretty much just to challenge yourself and also to supercharge your savings, because for each day that you achieve the $0 no spend, and again, you can set those parameters. You can choose, like, what does that mean? If you have something coming up for the month already that you know that you have to spend money on, that's fine. But just, again, each day try to make sure, like, you're not going out for an extra coffee or something, or maybe try to pack your lunch and eat lunch instead of getting lunch out. Just certain things like that where you can save. So for each day that you achieve the no spend and you successfully do not spend money on those added purchases, you're going to color in and save the dollar amount that's attached to that day. So this goes from 1 all the way to 31. And what you can do then is track this on your board. So you get your calendar out, and for each day that you've spent $0, you can put 0 in, and then you could write on there what you did spend if you made, a purchase or did something that was outside of what you consider the no spend rules. So as you're doing that, each week you can use the whiteboard, and this is where you're going to be able to kind of track and write down what you spent the money on. And then again, you can kind of reconcile that each week as you go through the month. So this is an example. As I said, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a snapshot of what the month would look like as you complete it. And this is a really easy way to make sure that you're tracking and keeping yourself accountable. So this could be something that you keep within your wallet, in your purse, and on the go, or you could, keep it at home and fill it out. But the board will allow you to kind of write that in. And then you also can do that if your family is doing it with you. They can kind of jot down if they've spent anything. I think it could be a really fun challenge for you and your family and your kids to do together to see, how diligent can you be with that? And, it's something that definitely pushes you, and it is something that you have to really work hard at. But at the end of the month, when you get to calculate all of the money up that you have that's extra to put towards your savings, it'll feel so good, and it'll really help to get back on track. You can kind of set the parameters on that. This is something that I've done 2 or 3 months now for the year, and it really does help. It really helps kind of just add in and give you a little kickstart or a boost into the savings. Now, if you did take on debt or credit cards through the back to school purchases, you could utilize this extra money to pay off some of that. Truthfully, you could put it towards whatever. You could put it towards the sinking funds, wherever you need, but it could be a really great idea to kind of pay off some of those cards or the debt that you had from back to school shopping. Now we've gone through the first 2, we're gonna talk about the third way, and this is probably one of my favorites. This is something that can really encourage your children to get involved in finances, in maybe tracking a little bit more of their money, of their allowances, and also getting them to help out with some chores and getting them involved in the daily tasks around the house. So what this is going to do is set up a way for your children to track their chores. And I love utilizing the board for this. So you can use the whiteboard, and what you basically do is you're going to assign for the week, each day you'll have a task, and you pick whatever task you want or what chore you need done. And then you're going to put money on that chore. So as you'll see here, I have the money. You could put the physical cash there, or you could put a dollar amount that then you give them. It just depends on what's easiest for you guys, obviously depending on how many children you have, because this would be something that you would want to, encourage as many of them to pitch in as possible. And then you can set the dollar amount for each chore. So I love having it on the board because I think that it shows the children that they'll be able to do the chore and the task and then get their reward after. And this is something then that they can actually utilize on the savings challenge tracker to color these in, and they can also watch their progress. So this is something you can tie in to school, to learning about money, learning responsibility, learning how to help out with things around the house that need done anyway, which bonus for you, mom. So I really love this idea, and I think you guys could get super creative with how you utilize it, but the board will basically give you the ability to organize those chores and those tasks. And then once they're completed, you know, you can cross those off, you can have the kids put their initial by it, however you want to do it, however it works best for you. But I just think that this could be a really great way for them to learn a little bit at home, but also making it fun, exciting. And then what they can do is they can, you know, set aside a total goal of how much they want to save, and they could even assign maybe something that they want to use this for. So that could be something really good to try to encourage them to save up their money for something that they've been wanting or something that they need. You know, just really getting them, again, more involved in the finances. For us with homeschooling, anything that we can do to teach our children things along the way, but not make it feel like school, is a bonus. So for us, this is a good way to incorporate math because our children, well, my son, can be adding these things in. Obviously, they're also making sure that they're coloring within the lines. It depends on how old your children are, but really you can get the littles involved all the way up to the ones that are in high school. I really love being able to pair this together with the chores and the allowances and the tasks, and it just encourages them to be a little bit more mindful and to steward their money in a really good way, so that instead of, you know, them just expecting you to get everything, or instead of them just purchasing things that they want that 2 days later they never touch again, hopefully this will make them understand the, you know, principles of money. It will make them understand the benefits of saving and waiting for something that they really want. Because I often find, you know, that when you're patient and you save up that money for the item that you've really been wanting, it means a lot more, especially when they're actually involved and a part of it. And when they feel that it is, you know, something that they've worked for, that is such a great lesson to teach them and to show them. So I hope that you guys enjoy this one. Like I said, this is probably my favorite one, and I really love being able to utilize the OneThrive to get the whole family involved. I think that everything with, you know, organizing for the month, for activities, for budget, for finances, it is something that the whole family should be able to get involved in. It's a great way for everybody to be able to see it. It's a great way for everybody to stay involved and included, and again, to have that accountability for one another. All right, guys, so I thank you so much for watching the video, for tuning in. I really hope that all of these tips helped you, and I hope that it gave you some really good ideas to get started for back to school time frame with getting everything organized, maybe with getting, you know, a hold of your budget and your finances. And like I said, I have a YouTube channel that you can check out. I'm also on Instagram, and you can find me on Pinterest and on my Etsy shop. So if you guys have any questions, if you want to talk through any of this more, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to help however I can, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful start to the school year. I know it can be a bit of a crazy time with going back to school, but just remember that these kids grow up so fast. Enjoy every single moment, be present with them, and just make the most out of each and every day. I pray that this video blesses you guys, and I thank you so much again for watching. God bless.